Welcome to the Drivable Podcast. I'm Ali Akbarian and over there is Brad Williams. Today we're talking about safe driving and the Get Home Safe Foundation with Darren Davis, who is the president of the Get Home Safe Foundation. The Get Home Safe Foundation has been created for the purpose of developing, producing, delivering and supporting road safety initiatives. So I really can't wait to get stuck in and talk about something bigger than mods and controls and impacts on all drivers, because with me, I guess I'm personally really passionate about road safety as well. So Brad, you ready for it?
Let's get into it. There's a lot to discuss in this one, and wait until you meet Darren. He's a wonderful personality, and he's got so much drive, so much passion. He's going to be great to talk to.
Welcome to the Drive Able podcast, where each episode you get to listen to two of Australia's leading professionals in the area of driving and community mobility for people with disabilities. In each episode, they interview drivers, carers, and industry experts and share the insider's guide to driving with a disability. Here are your hosts, Brad and Ollie.
Hi everyone, I'm really excited to get into today's interview, but before we get started, we just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors who make this show possible, Mobility Engineering and Williams OT. This show takes a lot of time and money to put together, so we just want to say a thanks to our sponsors for helping us bring you this podcast show today. And today we have Darren Davis. Darren, thanks very much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Brad. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thanks. Can we just ask you to introduce yourself as a start and tell us a little bit about the Get Home Safe Foundation and your role?
Hi, everyone. My name is Darren Davis. As Brad said, I'm the president and founder of the Get Home Safe Foundation. The foundation was, I guess, formed because I want to make a real difference in the road safety space. We've been doing the same thing for decades, and still families are losing loved ones, and people's lives are being changed because of incidents on the road that mainly can be avoided. So that's where the foundation started from. It was actually an idea of someone who's a friend of mine, and there's an ex-Crows premiership player, Rod Jamison. So Jamo said, with my passion, I should start a foundation. So I did, and it's been a hard road, but look, it's such a worthwhile cause. And guys, I guess really to put this in a nutshell for me on a personal level, I've sat down and known so many families that have lost loved ones, and this lives with people forever. So if I can avoid anyone losing a loved one on the road, then my job is done. Just one person will do me. Obviously, I want to do more, and I always want to do more, and I'm going to keep striving to do more through the foundation. That's pretty much what the foundation's about, is making people safe.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What made you, I guess, start it, and what sparked this passion in road safety?
Hi, Ali. Yeah, I've been in the driver training and road safety industry for well over 30 years now. First of all in the UK, and then 18 years ago moved over here and re-qualified as an instructor here. But I've always wanted to do more. I've always wanted to expand my messaging and make more families safer, and that one-on-one driver training is really important, because I'll make that one individual safe. But I've always, ever since I qualified 30 odd years ago, I wanted to include the whole family in my driver training. So rather than making just one individual young guy or young female safe on the road, I want to affect their whole family. So I've always looked to expand my messaging to make more and more people safe. And this is a fantastic vehicle, pardon the pun, to actually do that. I can talk to families through the foundation, and I can get families having those conversations at the dinner table about how they all want each other to get home safe.
Yeah, so it's more than just getting out there and saying this is how many lives are lost per year. It's more getting into those messages, those hidden messages in behind the scenes of all of those facts and figures. Is that right, Darren?
It really is, Brad. Yeah, I do a lot of interviews on media and have done over the years, both TV and radio. And one of the things I always stress to the interviewers is I'm not going to give you statistics. Statistics are just numbers, and any maths teachers out there, I apologize, but I'm not interested. Numbers are numbers, and I've never been interested in statistics, and no one really takes in the gravity that they might say, wow, that's a lot of people that have died, but it's still numbers. So for me, I don't want to talk numbers. I want to talk families. If someone says, oh, how many people have died? Well, of course it matters, but I could say 100 people died last year in South Australia, but that doesn't really give any gravity to the situation. There are 100 families out there whose lives have just been changed and ruined forever. And that's not even thinking about the wider friendship groups and the wider families from those people that have been lost. It's devastating. So numbers don't do it for me.
Yeah, I love that statement there. There's actually a recent advertisement campaign in New South Wales, because they're going towards a zero fatality, that's their current goal, and it's quite interesting because they ask a guy, they say, oh, how many people would it be okay to die per year? 1,000, 500, and he goes, oh yeah, like 100 or something, or like 10 or 5 or something like that, and then they put his entire family in front of him, and he goes, oh well, how many of these would you like to die? And he goes, well, actually, yeah, now I changed my mind, 0 is better, because when you take the number out of it, all of a sudden you want it to be 0. And I love that concept of including the whole family. This is actually something I really want to highlight here, and also talk about a little bit about within the disability community as well. So me, myself, I'll share a personal story. When I was younger, my family, and I think a lot of people would be like this of my age or maybe a bit older, where in the 80s and 70s, things like drink driving were common and socially almost acceptable. And I remember I was like a kid, and my parents were driving around drunk, and I hated it. And I was really scared because they were teaching the kids that, but the parents didn't really, they didn't know as much. But I didn't know what to say, and so the fact, or like how to include that in that conversation or in the family. And the fact that you're kind of talking about that as a whole family holistic thing is awesome, because it's got to be something where, little kids or everyone has to have the language and be empowered to speak about it, and maybe step up and say, hey, let's be safer. We want to get home, or whatever it is, So I think that's awesome, the whole family concept.
Absolutely right. And our high school program that we deliver is to year 10, so that they're either just about to get their learners or have just got their learners. We're the only road safety program out in the schools that includes the parents as well. So we'll do a parent session in the evening at the schools, and we talk to them about, what kind of role models are you? If the kids see you looking at the phone, well, that's accepted, so they're going to look at the phone. So one of the things I stress to the parents is, if you think there's something you're going to tell your kids off for when they're on their P's, don't you do it, because you're teaching them that that's okay. So you can't tell them off when you've taught them that it's all right to do. So we want the families to really look at how they drive and be better role models, so that the next generation of drivers are so much safer and better educated.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Look, Ali and I are both involved in the disability area when it comes to driving, and we see so many people that have been injured in accidents. We see a lot of people with other types of disabilities, but a big chunk of the work that we do of people that have had a traumatic event, which really impacts on their next stage of their life. It impacts on their family. It impacts on how they're going to live out the rest of their life. Even the car that's pictured behind Ali's head there, if you're watching this on YouTube, with the turnout seat, things like that, where you have to rely on a carer for the rest of your life. It's not just fatalities, is it? It's the big picture of how much impact this has across the spectrum of accidents, from a small scrape right through to something as serious as a fatality.
It really is. The emotional damage is forever. I've known people that lost someone, or has had someone have a serious injury, as a brain injury, for example, and that affects that family forever. And then you go the other side and you look at the economical issue. We as taxpayers are paying millions and millions and millions of dollars a year because people are crashing.
Yeah.
And most of those crashes can be avoided if we can start really educating people a bit better and getting them to think differently on the road. So yeah, the emotional is the big one for me. I'm not driven by money, but as a taxpayer, if road safety doesn't matter to you on an emotional sense, it certainly should on a financial sense, because we're paying a lot. We pay more for road toll than we do in our defence budget.
Yeah,
Well, that's significant, isn't it? That is significant. Hey, I just want to go back one step. If you want to hear about the impact of living with a disability, we actually interviewed Eline Mern, who's an ambassador for the Get Home Safe Foundation, in one of our earlier podcast episodes. So please go back and listen to that episode, and he'll really let you know what it's like living with an injury, a fairly significant injury post a road accident. He talks about how he's an idiot, talks about how he didn't respect those rules and regulations, and then he also is very open and honest, and where he has his partner there as well, another Ali, and she talks about the impact on both of their life, and it's really eye-opening, really, and in regards to not just fatalities, which is the main thing that gets presented in the news, how many there are, but it's that bigger impact, which is what we're talking about. So I really encourage you to go back and listen to that earlier episode. Hey, Darren, what are some of the key initiatives that the Get Home Safe Foundation are actually implementing then?
Okay, so it's mainly about engagement. So we every year we put out a primary school poster competition that goes right across the state. That's supported by Bendigo Bank, and we're actually in the middle of our 5th poster competition. So we're in our 5th year as a foundation. So every single under 12 in South Australia can basically design a poster that best describes how to get home safe from school, or how to get to school safe. And every year we choose a winner and a runner-up, and then 2 other sort of 3rd places, and they get a bit of money to open up a new Bendigo Bank account, or put it into an existing Bendigo account, of course. And that's great, because we want those kids to engage with their teachers, with their parents, with their friends at school, and talk about how they can get home safe, how they can represent in a poster what to do when you're near the school, or whether you're on a bike or walking, or mum or dad are driving. So that's great engagement for us from the very early ages. As I mentioned,
have you seen some really good stuff come through from there? Like, is it heartwarming stuff and things that make you think?
Absolutely, mate. And sometimes we can see that a parent or teacher has helped, but that's okay, because that means that those youngsters are giving their honest opinions to their mums and dads. Hey, Dad, you drive a little bit fast sometimes. So it's real. Kids are really honest, and they'll say it how it is. So we want that engagement. Yeah, there's been some great ones, and we started off the first year, I think we had, I don't know, about 40 entries. Last year we had hundreds from all over the state, and regional schools as well. Another important initiative is the high school program, as I mentioned earlier, and that's really important for those youngsters who are just about to get on the road as new drivers. So we talk about behaviours rather than driving techniques, I guess. We've got the Regional Road Safety Alliance now. This is a really big one for me, and it's when we launched in 2018, I said that this was one of the big goals for me, is to affect regional road safety. Over 2/3 of our deaths happen on regional roads, which is crazy because there's hardly any traffic out there. So we really need to make a difference. And something that has been very, very sad is the decline of the regional road safety groups. There are community groups, they're volunteers, a bit like the people neighborhood watch stuff. And there used to be up to 30 groups around the state, and we're currently down to 9, and a couple of those are struggling. So my aim is to resurrect some of those groups and to create new ones in areas that really need the locals to have a look and to try and affect regional road safety in their communities. We've also got, which is fantastic, SACA, so the South Australian Cricket Association, now have a 3rd dedicated round to their Premier League season. So there's the Indigenous round, there's the mental health round, and now there's a road safety round. So the Get Home Safe round is played once a year, and it's 122 teams across the state. It's the Premier League teams, so the juniors, the seniors, female and male, of course. And we want to talk to them about, how you use the skills on the field of play, focus, looking after your mates, obeying the rules, striving to improve, getting that bigger picture. We want those skills to be relayed on the road. So we talk to the clubs and the members and the players about, all this stuff that you do every single time you go out on that cricket pitch. We want you to do that every time you get on the road, whether it's be on your bike, on feet, or in a vehicle. And Eli Mern is a perfect ambassador for that. He was an Olympic hopeful, a volleyballer, and he wrecked it. He drove like an idiot by his own admission, and that was his career gone. So that's a really effective program for us.
Yeah, I really like that, because it's not just sponsorship money and getting some posters up in the club rooms. You actually go out and talk to these clubs, don't you? And involve the captains and so forth as well. Is that right?
We do. That's exactly right. So our aim is over the next few seasons to get to every single club on one of their presentation nights and engage with the whole club community and get them really thinking about, how they can have a good time after a game or after training, but how they're going to get home safe. Let's support each other. And we piloted the scheme at Glenelg Cricket Club, and they actually won the federal government Good Sports Award for safe travels home from a club, which they were presented in Canberra. So, and that was because of our program. So we know it affects clubs in a really positive way. Yeah. So that's been huge for us. We've also got the work zone safety program that we're starting to develop with work zone traffic control. Every year, so many people are injured and killed in work zone areas. Road workers that are just trying to make our roads better and safer, and drivers aren't respecting those speeds, and they're not developing safe behaviours around work zone areas. So we want to make a difference there as well, and that's an ongoing one. That's a new one that we've just started. We've also got the Women Against Road Toll movement that we started on our first year as well. We want to engage with the females of the families and highlight their really important role in the family unit. So many times we hear of, mum and dad have been out watching the kids play footy or whatever. Dad's had 2 or 3 beers and driven home, and mum hasn't had anything, and yet is still the passenger in the car. And we want to change that. Let's show the kids that the parents can be responsible. If one of them wants to have a drink, the other one doesn't and drives home. It's simple. And that's something that we've tried to get interstate. We have a high tea every year in South Australia. The first one 4 or so years ago, we had 45 people, and last year we sold out at 150. So it's growing every year, and we want to spread that across the whole country. There's so many more initiatives in the pipeline, Brad and Ali, to be honest, and hopefully with more support and more funds coming in, we can actually get these initiatives out there.
Yeah, look, we're coming into it. I'm going to put my hand up. I'm going to be absolutely honest. I'm actually a board member of the Get Home Safe Foundation as well. So Darren and I know each other really well. I've all of these initiatives are why I'm on the board. Hey, Darren, how are we raising? What's some of our main initiatives for raising money for all of these programs? We're coming into our 5th year this year. So it's fairly new on, but it's grown like wildfire. How are we raising the funds for all of these types of initiatives?
Mainly at the moment through our two fundraising events. So we have the Women Against Road Toll High Tea. We raise a little bit of money through that. And every May we have our annual gala, and that's grown as well. Again, the first one, I think we had 48 people, and the last 2 years we've sold out, and COVID has kept the numbers down. But we're looking at our big fifth birthday next year, and it's going to be a big one, so look out for that, and hopefully we'll raise some more money there. But I guess essentially it's more about raising awareness as well. But these events are so essential for us because they do fund us to be able to develop and deliver such important initiatives, and hopefully with more corporate sponsorship we'll be able to deliver more. And we've got some great sponsors at the moment. Toyota Australia and WorkZone and Williams OT has been a great support. Bendigo Bank, I can go on. There's a few people out there that really believe in what we're doing, but brass tacks, down to brass tacks, we need more. We really do need more. We're not a corporate entity. We don't have any other corporate parts to us that we're going to promote. We are literally, every cent we get is spent on promoting road safety, not a business, not anything else. So we really do need that support.
That's really cool,
Darren.
Yeah, I really like all the stuff you're saying, and I think it's actually really poignant for the disability community on a number of levels. One, even a lot of people we've interviewed have been affected by their lives have been changed by an accident, and that's how they've ended up on this show, so but also then when particularly the disabled community and even kids, when they get back to being transported, they actually need a lot more. They're much more vulnerable, so they need a lot more care, and we have to be even extra vigilant with a lot of that community as well. So it's even more important that they're included, the part of this messaging as well, so it's really good. I love the whole concept, so it's great.
I just want to add to that. We had Nick come on, who's the CEO of Blue Badge Insurance, and he spoke about some facts and figures. But one of the important facts and figures that he did speak about was how people with disabilities who are drivers actually tend to be safer drivers on the road.
Yeah, much safer.
They don't pay as much insurance, so you can actually get better premiums through Blue Badge. That's a little bit of a plug for him there at Blue Badge. But the facts and figures show that they've got a much greater respect for the road rules and a much greater respect of the consequences if there is an accident. And they also go through a lot more of a rigorous assessment process, not just your L's and P's type assessment, but then they have to go through medical assessments more regularly, and it means so much more to them. So they've got a greater respect to driving, and that's a really interesting podcast to go back and have a listen to and hear Nick's take on that side of it all from an insurance point of view, which is about facts and figures and maths and so forth. But that was a really intriguing, and I guess what the Get Home Safe Foundation is about is trying to build that same philosophy throughout the entire population that drives.
Yeah, it really is. And in the road safety world, if we can use crash survivors to help us get that message across, that's gold. Because as you said, Brad, people that have either suffered life-changing injuries or just have any general disabilities that were nothing to do with any kind of crash, they totally respect how it's so important to look after yourself and to be safe and to go through life just trying to be the best person and the safest person they can be. And yeah, absolutely right. I can see that the disability sector has got a lot to offer in the road safety sector, that's for sure.
And
100%.
is that something that would be like Get Home Safe Foundation would entertain? For example, if some of our listeners or community wanted to share a story through the foundation, is that what they'd be, interested in? Like, is that the kind of stuff you would do?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that, if someone has got a story to tell, if someone has got a disability and it's because of something that's happened to them on the road, we'd love to hear their story. And there's no reason why we couldn't even create a page of stories. This is why road safety is so important. Listen to these people and their experience and learn from them. Let them teach you how important your safety is on the road. I'd definitely be up for that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I reckon that'd be a good one, because I think again, we've spoken to a lot of our listeners, and the ones that have had a lot of our people that we've interviewed, the ones that have come on and that have had those experiences, life-changing experiences through a road accident, they are desperate to teach others. So it'd be great to kind of get that, get something like that out there as well.
When it's not taken for granted, it means a lot more. That's for sure.
That's correct. Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. Hey, let's just add on to that. We've got another question for you. How can our listeners that are listening to this podcast get involved with the Get Home Safe Foundation? What can they do if they're struck by this interview and then they want to do more?
Well, initially, we'd love people to come on board as members. We've got a growing membership, and the membership is just there really for people to feel that they're belonging to something that's making a difference. It's only $25 a year, but that $25 means a lot to us. It keeps us going. It keeps us able to spend money on things that set up events or set up programs and keep the office going. But it certainly, I guess, mainly helps us to help everyone else out there. So people can take a bit of ownership and just become a member. You get discounted rates for our events and newsletters but mainly you can know in your own heart that you're doing something to help. So yeah, get on our website, gethomesafefoundation.org, and look at how to support us and just click on join as a member. You can do that. You can buy our book. We've got a fantastic celebrity recipe book that's out, and that was put together mainly by one of our board members, Rosie Orst, and we've got some very interesting characters in the book, from celebrity chefs to Adelaide news readers, even to David Tennant, who was Doctor Who a few years back. So it's quite an interesting book, and even an 80s pop icon who you have to go on the website and have a look or buy the book and you'll find out who it is. But
if nothing else, buy it for Sean McAuliffe recipe. If nothing else, just buy it for Sean McAuliffe's recipe. Sean McAuliffe from ABC, and a great comedian. Just get it for his recipe. It's worth the money just for that one.
Absolutely. And if you find all the ingredients,
you're doing very, very well. Mate, we're gonna wind it up. I want to give you one more question. For anyone that's listening right now, what is the number one behavior in your mind that somebody could do to be a safer driver on the road?
Take your time. I see so many people that seem to think that it's a race out there. They're not courteous to anyone else. If someone wants to change lanes, they'll speed up so they can't. Let's work with each other. It's not a race. All we've got to do is get home safe. It's as simple as that. You don't have to get home quickly. You don't have to get home first. You've just got to get there safe. So if I was to say one thing in one nutshell, is please just take your time, get there when you get there.
Yeah. Right. We've gone way over time. We always do. Every episode, it's meant to be 20-minute interview, but again, we've gone way over that. But before we wind up, we always ask our guests a final question, and we've had some great answers along the way, and I'm really interested to hear what a road safety expert has to say about this one as well. But just before we do our final question, we just want to quickly acknowledge our sponsors one more time that make this show possible, Mobility Engineering and Williams OT. A great thanks to them. Darren, As I've said over these podcasts, we've had some great answers to this question, but what we know that driving is more than just getting from A to B. It's more than just getting from work to home. There's so much more meaning behind the task of driving. What's something that's really meaningful for you, whether it's a special journey, a special activity, something that's really meaningful for you that you could share with us that's more than just using your car to get from A to B?
Well, I guess the most meaningful journey anyone can ever have is that journey home at the end of a working day to their families. Every single day, I look forward to coming home to my family, and certainly as my son was growing up, I couldn't wait to get home, but I'd always make sure I've got home safely rather than quickly. So every single journey home to your family or visiting family is just very special. And for me, I guess it's not so much a car journey, but coming originally from the UK, that journey back to the other side of the world to see family and friends that I've grown up with, that's always very special. And I guess once you get to the UK, if everyone's ever driven in the UK, the volume of traffic is huge.
Yeah, and those real narrow roads and the high hedges and all those type of things, and then you get on the expressways, and it's just amazing how it all operates and how it all works. It's quite significant.
It is, and the volume of traffic and the speed of traffic and the lack of space everywhere. You'd think it would cause chaos, and yet the UK has been in the top 5 safest countries in the world for decades, and Australia, we're very far behind that. We're right down in the table, and yet we've got so much space and time to do everything. So we've got to change that. We've got to change it here.
Doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah. It's really interesting actually that you mentioned that, because I've driven around the UK a fair bit, and I actually feel a lot safer on the roads there than I do here, even though it's pretty crowded.
Oh, yeah.
I never even thought about that. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and you've got things like autobahns in Germany and all those type of things where people are driving at significant speed, and yet it works. So it's not all just about speed. It's about a lot more than. There's a lot of other things that
taking
go into
your
it.
time. That's
taking your time. Yeah, that's it. Mate, a huge thank you to Darren. As you can tell, everybody, Darren is a very passionate person. It's an absolute pleasure to know you and work alongside you at the Get Home Safe Foundation, Darren. Inspired by you every time we get together, and the Get Home Safe Foundation is a wonderful initiative to get behind. So if our listeners have any further questions and want to get in contact with you or the Get Home Safe Foundation, how can they do that? What's the best way that they can get in contact?
Yeah, just get on the website, gethomesafefoundation.org, and you can message us through there, and I'll always get the messages come through to me, and I'll answer to everyone. I want to engage with as many people as I can, so feel free to, even if you just want to just say hello, thank you for what you're doing. You could do it better. I'll listen to any message and reply to it, I promise.
All right. So awesome. That's fantastic. And we'll put the contacts in the show notes for this episode as well. So make sure you share it with people as well. So go and check it out on Facebook or wherever you get your podcast. We'll put it in the show notes there. A massive thanks. We really appreciate your time and energy today, and we really hope that our listeners got something out of it as well. If you did, make sure you leave a comment down below wherever you're listening to this podcast, whether it's on the YouTube channel or in Facebook or Instagram or wherever you're listening to it. Make sure you leave a comment down below of your thoughts and opinions about this episode.
Or go and join the foundation. It's only $25, So
even bigger thing for $25 a year. It's pocket money for a lot of people these days, but it has a massive impact with what the foundation can do.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Darren, thanks very much. Everyone else, stick around, because when we come back after this short little break, we're going to, Ali and I, do our top 3 takeaways like we do for every episode, and give our expert analysis. So stick around, everybody. And Darren, thanks very much for your time.
No worries, guys.
Thank you. All right, welcome back. In In this section, we bring you our expert analysis and top 3 takeaways from the interview. This is where we provide our more than 30 years of joint experience in the industry, helping people with disabilities to drive and get out in the community in a safe and meaningful way. So
we say that in every episode, don't we? Get out in the community in a safe and meaningful way. And here we are today talking with Darren from the Get Home Safe Foundation. It couldn't be a more poignant and meaningful message.
Exactly. And what's the first lesson we want to talk about?
Well, it's what we're going to reflect on some of the key points that Darren said, but one of the first ones that he made mention of is that the Get Home Safe Foundation is not all about facts and figures. They dig deeper than that, and they really look at the bigger impact on what a trauma or a fatality means to the family and the community in general. And that's what attracted me to the Get Home Safe Foundation. If people don't know, I lost an uncle in a car accident, and it still impacts my life every day. And he died when I was under 5. So, my grandfather just passed away, and it was part of his general conversation, saying how much I looked like him. All of those type of things still impact to this day, and that's 42 to 3 years ago now that he passed away, and it's still impacting. My mother, who was his brother and sister. They still reflect on it every day, and it has a massive impact on life when we don't think about the bigger consequences of our behaviors on the road.
Yeah, and we've seen that in so many of the interviewees here as well, where that's how they've ended up as a result of poor practices on the road, and ended up disabled and on this show, unfortunately. But just involving that whole family in the conversation and being part of the whole thing, as you said, not just okay, you got to drive safe, but it's about everybody being accountable and looking after each other and having plans in place, because it does, as you said, affect everybody, and even on a huge scale. Like he said, the road toll budget, it affects us, even if we are not, even if you're not in a big family, it's affecting you because you're a taxpayer in this country. And like he said, I'm actually blown away. We spend more on this than we spend on defense.
Hospitals, disability budget, NDIS, all of these things are somewhat attributable to road accidents.
Yeah, I mean,
look at those. Not all of NDIS, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of conditions out there that are covered by NDIS that have nothing to do with road accidents. But if you look at Comcare or LSA or whichever state you're in, TAC, there's so many clients on the TAC or Comcare or LSA or whichever state you're in, whatever the budget is, whatever the program is there. So much money goes into those programs to help people live out the best days of their life, and it's a significant budget for just that side of it. But then there's also the hospitals, there's the ambulance, there's the fire brigade who help, there's the police that have to get involved. So much money goes into keeping our roads as safe as they are now, but also that bigger impact on treating people at the side of the road and beyond.
It's really it's really amazing.
Oh, it's tragic, and it really is tragic. And if nothing else comes out of this episode, think about the big impact your behavior is having, whether it's looking at your phone as you're driving along, or checking a message because it goes buzz, or not paying attention and looking over to the back seat where the kids are having a fight in the back seat. Whatever it is, try to make sure that behavior is something that's going to get you home safe.
And on that note, we'll actually kind of wield it to the next lesson, as a reminder of that. Get involved with Get Home Safe Foundation, become a member. if there's any corporate people out there, sponsor, help them spread their message, because the more the message is out there on the grassroots level, which these guys are doing, the more the impact is going to be known. And the thing is it's not just Get Home Safe. Like I said, a lot of people get a bit worried about getting involved in this stuff, sharing their stories, but that's how we learn, through each other, so become a member. As you said, it's $25. And you'll get an opportunity to share those stories and have it on front of mind, and keep the road safe.
I've been to a lot of the events, and one of the things they do is they get people to put up their hand if they know somebody that's died in an accident. And in a room of 200 people, it's actually hard to see through all the hands. It's unbelievable how many of people are actually impacted on by an accident. So please get involved. $25 a year, a couple of coffees and a hot dog, same type of cost. Get involved. $25 a year. But please, the big corporate sponsors, so these initiatives can roll out, so it can actually grow from its small beginnings. It's grown organically up to this stage. It's looking to go to that next level and spread bigger messages and really make a big difference. So any corporate people out there like Toyota that have got on board, or WorkZone that have got on board, and even Bendigo Bank as an example, there's lots of promotion of companies involved in the Get Home Safe Foundation as well. So yeah, make sure you jump on board and help out wherever you possibly can.
Yeah.
Our third takeaway, Ali, what was our third takeaway?
That was a big message that Darren put forward as well, which is take your time. And I love that message, because that really struck out for me, particularly for the industry we're in. I mean, me personally, we work in the product space, and I do a lot of training and talks on road safety. And one of the things I talk about is, when you're using a product, particularly like a road safety product in a vehicle, like a disability product, which, a lot of our industry and cohort uses, if you don't use something correctly, it can turn from a safety device to almost like a weapon in a car, and cause a massive risk for safety. And when I've looked at this through training and through audits, it's always been because the people haven't taken their time. Like 90% of the time, 95% of the time, when you reflect and you interview, they go, oh, I was in a hurry, or I wasn't paying my attention to that, or, we were just going up the road and just going around the corner and blah, blah, blah. And when you get to the barbecue 5 minutes late, no one cares. But if you don't get there.
How true is that? How true is that comment? Yeah. Does anyone really care if you're 5 minutes late?
Yeah, but they'll care if you don't turn up.
I reckon.
And it'll ruin the barbecue and everybody's night there.
And beyond, like we've mentioned, it goes on and on and on. It's not just the barbecue that's ruined. It's the rest of your life, the rest of their life, the rest of everyone that's at that barbecue's life.
Even if you're an hour late, no one will know,
That's right.
So, that's right. And they'll probably have your food ready for you. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. It's, you'll have a plate, your friends will be there. That's the point. It's like, it's
special attention when you arrive, because everyone will be paying attention to you.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a good thing. And and for me, that's a big thing. It's particularly taking that time, not just to get there, but to set up the equipment properly and be safe. If you're securing someone in the back of a vehicle with their wheelchair tie down points, take your time, because you need to hook them onto the right points, the right way, the right angles, all of those things. It's even more important in our industry.
Get the seatbelt down on their hips, so it's not just going across the armrest of a wheelchair and across a table. Get it down onto the bony prominences, so it's actually going to keep them safe. Same with lessons. Don't rush your driving lessons. If you're listening to this and you're a mum of a 16-year-old or even someone who's older and learning down the track, don't rush lessons because you want it to be as cheap as possible. Think about the big impact of how that one extra lesson or two or three extra lessons can have a massive impact on the big picture, the end of life picture, I guess, all the way through to the end of life, whenever that might be. And you don't want that around the corner next year because they're driving unsafely.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing is take your time when you're on the road, which was Darren's big message. You know, you don't have to be the first in the queue. It's not the shops. You don't have to pick the fastest aisle. Okay, you don't need to get through even when you're in the shops and you try to pick the fastest aisle to get through, you can stuff that up. Yeah. And you end up having the wrong line and you're waiting. Just go with the flow, take your time, have a nice conversation with the checkout person, but the same with your driving. Take your time, be courteous, let people in, allow gaps, the biggest thing I see is when we do driving lessons for experienced drivers is having a decent buffer zone to the car in front. Oh, but if I do that, someone will cut in front of me. You hear that almost every time we talk about increasing your buffer zone to an experienced driver.
Yeah.
So what if the person cuts in front of you?
Keep your emotions for your family, not another car.
Give them room to do it rather than making it a really tight gap and they're going to push it in anyway. And then it's a really unsafe environment. Yeah. Okay. I'm getting passionate now. I'm getting worked up.
We're going to be talking about this for hours. So,
all right. Let's wind it up then. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, as we wind up this episode, we want to give shout out to our sponsors, Mobility Engineering and Williams OT, for helping us bring you the interview with Darren today. Williams OT Driver Assessment and Rehab offers all the pieces of the puzzle to assist people with disabilities reach their driving and community and mobility goals. And you will get very passionate driving instructors there for sure. Mobility Engineering is a team of passionate and dedicated people focused on bringing Australia's largest range of suitable transport solutions for all walks of life. And again, passionate people making sure you're using them all properly. And as we say in every episode, the advice provided in this podcast is general in nature. So if you have any queries about what you can do, what will work for you, get in contact with your local OT or mobility dealer and set yourself up with a trial. Trials really do put you in the driver's seat. So that's it, Brad. See you next time.
Yeah, see you later, Ali. I really enjoyed this one and can't wait for the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Drive Able podcast with Brad Williams and Ali Akbarian. If you like what you've heard, make sure you like, rate and subscribe. It really does make a massive difference. If you or anyone you know would like to share a story about driving with a disability, or you would like to get in contact, find the show notes, or find the resources mentioned in this episode, you can find us on Facebook. Just search @Drive Able Podcast for more information.